Hello and welcome back to MCAT Grind. We have Biochem Chapter 5 about lipid structure and function. Out of all the practices I've done, I've only ever seen 3 passages in total about lipids only. So most likely you're probably going to see just one discrete question inquiring about lipids, such as what's the name of the functional group with 4 rings, and that would be steroids, right? However, do expect them to come up in passages, and although they might not be indirectly asked, it would be good to be familiar about their structure. So, starting with phospholipids, you can think of phospholipid combining phospho, which is phosphate group, with lipid. So what is lipid? Well, it's just fat, right? The fatty side is very immiscible with water, right? It can't mix well. If you put butter and water together, they're just not going to mix evenly into homogeneous mixture. So phospholipid has the phosphate head with alcohol, and the chains are fatty acid tails, and they are just carbon chains, long chains that basically are hydrophobic. They don't mesh well with water. Now, if you have a saturated fatty acid, then all the lines are long, single-bonded carbon chains. If it's a unsaturated, then you will have a double bond called a kink. And those are generally favored because they're more liquid, they have more space to move around, and generally healthier to eat. So like oils, rather than butter. Butter would be a saturated fatty acid. Alright. Now, we have glycerophospholipid, which has an additional glycerol head on top of it. So it's just a glycerol head right in front of the glycerophospholipid. It could be it could be a sugar in front of it. It could be a another group right in front of it. So you could have another amine group in front of it. You could have literally any group in front of it, and it would just be termed glycerophospholipid. Now, with sphingolipid, the backbone changed, right? Phospholipid still has that phosphate plus alcohol head, but sphingolipid has this sphingol group. This sphingol group has an N as well as 2 alcohols to it, and there's a double bond on between one of the chains. So just think NOH, so sphing. To remember it, just think of it. Sphinx maybe sounds like sphinx, and there are 2 little paws on a sphinx and a head. And the simplest version is ceramide, which is simple, just a simple structure. There's nothing in front of it. The most front group is H, and in sphingomyelin, this H group gets substituted, hydrogen gets substituted with a phosphate or a nitrogen group, anything bonded to this H. So just like glycerophospholipid, anything attached to the front, you can switch it out, but instead of phospholipid or phosphate backbone, you have a sphingol backbone using N and 2 alcohols. Cerebral side specifically use sugar as the front attachment, and ganglial side uses multiple sugars, so oligosaccharides, plus a sialic acid in front of it. You can just look for, if they give you a structure diagram, you can just look for all oligosaccharides in front, and if you see additional acidic group, then that's sialic acid. It is also commonly known as glycolipid because there's a lot of glucose and glycogen. Alright. Then we have isoprene. Isoprene units are just the single basic parts of terpene units. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 carbon, and there's 2 double bonds in it. And what you could do is join them together. 2 isoprenes make 1 terpene, and terpenes are the basis for many aromatic substances. So think about plant releasing certain chemicals to push away insects. Terpenes are also used in natural products. So they serve all sorts of functions, and they also come in body functions, such as immune Steroids are important, found in cholesterol, right? Help stabilizes the membrane, the fluid membrane, and as well as being used as anabolic steroid to help with muscle growth. The notable things about 3 6-member chains plus 1 more 5-member chain. That's a general steroid. Glycerol is itself just 3 carbon chains and 3 alcohol attached to it, right? So 1, 2, 3, basically 3 methanols joined together. So it's a glycerol, and when they're joined with fatty acid on each of them, it's termed triacylglycerol because each of them have a fatty acid tail attached to a glycerol head. Alright, so that is pretty much it for all you need to know about lipids.